Hi, I'm Robin with Inner Freedom Yoga, and this is part 2 to the attunement video that I did recently. In this video, I want to share more about the difference between connection and attunement and define attunement more clearly, and also talk about how attunement affects our nervous system and our ability to regulate our nervous system and why that's so important. So first, connection for me is a feeling of closeness, a feeling of being seen or heard by somebody, a feeling of shared attention with someone. And so attunement, I think, includes connection. There's a feeling of connection in attunement, but it has this nuance of a feeling that you're being sensed by someone and that you're being felt by somebody. So there's a tuning into somebody, and also tuning into your needs specifically. So attunement implies somebody is tuning into your needs and also trying to meet your needs. I love the analogy of and where the word is coming from is like tuning an instrument, right? So we tune an instrument to a certain scale, and then when two instruments come together, two musicians come together, they want to tune their instruments to each other, right? And so there's this sense of a shared, understanding of sort of meeting at a similar place, right? And so that's what we want to do as adults with each other, or with an adult with an infant, is attune to them. So it's a real meeting of like a body meeting a body, feeling into the other's body. That's attunement. So why it's so important for infants is because they can't do that for themselves. So an infant doesn't have enough self-awareness to tune into their own body, right? And part of what happens with attunement for an infant when they get attuned by an adult who's present, who's also regulated and balanced in their own nervous system, is it helps the infant do that because they cannot regulate their own nervous system. They actually require an adult to attune to them, so to help them regulate their nervous system. So when an infant gets upset in some way, their needs aren't getting met, they're hungry, they're feeling pain, something's happening in their body, their nervous system gets what we might say activated or aroused. And this would mean they're in the sympathetic dominant state of the nervous system. There's two main branches of the autonomic nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic. So the sympathetic has to do with great states of fear or anxiety, anger, any kind of high energy state. You might be in a race, you might be running out the door, you might be working hard physically. Those are the states where you might have a higher or a dominance of sympathetic arousal versus parasympathetic. So it's normal to have a sympathetic dominant state when those types of things are happening. But ultimately what we want is to be able to come out of a sympathetic state when it's no longer necessary to be in that. So if you got like spooked or scared, you hear someone breaking in or, a big loud noise, you would have a sympathetic, arousal. And ultimately, as humans and as adults especially, we learn how to calm ourselves back down so that we're not stuck in high arousal. But for an infant, like I was saying, they don't know how to bring themselves down unless there is an attunement with an adult who's regulated, who's balanced in their own nervous system. Because you can imagine the problem with staying at high levels of activation is you can get stuck there, and then there's a great imbalance in your body. It affects your whole body. Your emotions would be more kind of dramatic if you were in always a sympathetic dominant state. If you're always kind of in high energy, you're going to be more reactive to small events. Your other areas of your body, your organ systems may not function as well. Your digestive system won't function as well. Your ability, you won't have an ease of being able to sleep and restore yourself. Your heart, your lungs, all these areas of the body can be affected by an imbalanced nervous system. So it's super important. So this other branch, the parasympathetic branch, is responsible for rest, restoration, rejuvenation, getting you into a quiet state. So it's the state you would want to be in when you're chilling out, when you are wanting to sleep, when you're feeling calm and quiet. So ultimately, we should all be able to fluctuate between these two states naturally, just be able to elevate when the situation requires it. There's something exciting happening, or we're in a hurry, or we're in a race. We want that activation. And then we also want to know how to settle down and rest. And so there's a balance between these two states. So hopefully that's understandable for why attunement is so important for an infant, especially because they can't regulate on their own, and to create more balance in the body. And then of course for adults, if we never got that early attunement, we may have trouble with our nervous system. We may not be able to self-regulate very well, and we may have trouble sleeping or have other issues in our bodies. So the good news is we can still learn to do that. We can attune to other adults, especially like a therapist or a coach or some kind of counselor should be able to help you attune, like I was talking about in the earlier video. Your partner, your close ones, hopefully you can attune with them, but ultimately you also want to find ways to regulate your nervous system on your own so that you don't require someone to be with you 24/7 to help you kind of balance yourself out. So there are tools like breathing techniques, sensing your body techniques, movement techniques that can help you self-regulate. And I'm not going to go into that here, so we keep this short for now, but look for more on that later. So hopefully this has been supportive and helpful to you. I would love to share the conversation with you more, so please feel free to comment below this video. And if you're a woman and you would like to join a conversation about relationships, please join my Facebook group called Healthy Relationships Sisterhood, and I'll put a link to that below. You can, of course, find me on my website at innerfreedomyoga.com. And also we have a Facebook page called Conscious Thriving Relationships. And I will put links to all of those below this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to share more with you soon. Namaste.